Today, we will look at range trading strategies. We will mostly focus on internal strategies. Today, I'll work on conceptual drawings rather than real charts. In the first part, I'll discuss the take profit points, how and when we should take profits based on EQ, range high and low. Rest of the video will be about 6 different trading strategies that works best with the ranges. We have so much to do. If you're ready, let's start. Welcome our free trading course, all about price action trading strategies and smart money concepts. If you love scalping and day trading, or even swing trading and looking for range and deviation strategies, check out my free trading course. You can find the links on Google Drive or directly from my website, which is in the description. And please try to watch videos in order, otherwise it can be really confusing. Okay guys, today we are gonna talk about internal strategies mostly. And next week, the external strategies, working with multiple ranges. These strategy lessons will be fully theoretical, working on slides and drawings mostly. In the next video, I will work on the real charts. Nowadays, I'm very busy, I do not have much time to find examples. So stay strong until the next video and try to learn the basics. First of all, what are internal and external strategies? This is a very basic idea actually. Internal strategies are encapsulated in a single range. So we trade what happens inside a single range. These trades are generally much quicker trades than others. On the other hand, external strategies consist of many other elements and powerful trading concepts. We are not only trading a single range, we also check low and higher time frames, multiple ranges in a correlation, other price action elements from supply and demand points, liquidity hunts, or much bigger imbalances. So external strategies are generally more complicated because you'll need more confirmations from outside the range. Before we work on strategies, let's understand how we take profits. Let me say this clearly. Every professional trader I know takes partial profits, every one of them. Because trading conditions keep changing all the time. You cannot just sit and wait for every single trade to reach their targets. So, the beauty of ranges, they give us overall profit points. Our first TP point is obviously the EQ area. However, we do not blindly take the profit here. We are looking for a possible reaction zone, such as an imbalance, liquidity hunt, or fresh supply and demand areas. Our second TP points generally range high and low zones. Again, same principles. Any liquidity to take, any imbalance to fill, any fresh supply or demand area to react, such as order blocks, imbalances, SR flips, mitigation blocks, and others. Let's start with tradable concepts. As I said, this video will be about graphical PDF files and drawings without real charts. In the next video, I'll go over many trading examples of these trading strategies from TradingView charts. Now, this strategy is called double manipulation. Very easy strategy to understand. Price deviates to one side with a break, trapping breakout traders. Then it moves to the opposite of the range and creates another break, manipulating the other breakout traders one more time. Creates double manipulation. After the final manipulation, when the price moves to the premium zone, in this case, you are looking for a short opportunity from a suitable supply point. The second strategy is OTE, optimal trade entry zones inside the range. Premium and discount tool is actually a Fibonacci tool. These are extreme areas in the ranges. These places are great zones to look for trade areas. Obviously, you shall never jump the trades blindly. You should look for a suitable trend change, a strong break, and a good supply area to trade. As you can see, ranges give us a bias, a trade bias for us to look for shorts or longs with our 20 different price action trading setups. What we do here is actually the same thing over and over again with our new power, the ranges. Another main entry method are breaker blocks. Now I have to make a specific point about breaker blocks because this is backtested a lot with all my friends. Somehow breaker blocks work extremely well with ranges or short trades. You can easily master a trading combination of range and breaker blocks. Personally, breaker blocks are also one of my favorite trading strategies when I trade ranges. If you check out Twitter, one of my latest trade is actually a breaker block trading with a range. Do not worry guys, in the next video I'll cover many trading examples from real charts. Right now this is the most I can do for you. The next method is actually using our special trading setup, reverse optimal trade entry with ranges. One of the best trading setups that you can ever use. As you can see, we combine all our knowledge with ranges here. We are not trying to create entirely different trading concepts. We are using our layer system here, combining more and more structures together, the core of price action. And the power of three concepts inside the ranges, extremely great methods to trade. If you remember our range bias video, you'll remember that the keys to trading ranges are liquidity mostly and imbalances. You have to always keep checking hunted liquidity in the range and the forming liquidity in the range. So the liquidity combined with premium and discount zones will give you the maximum trading bias possible. And it makes you give easier and more powerful decisions before trading. And our final trading concept, our most loved swing failure concept. I don't want to go over the same things over and over again. I guess any of you remember how to trade swing failure patterns. So, these are the most specific 6 trading concepts to trade ranges. Again, ranges are not trade entry strategies. Ranges are here for market direction bias with the combined premium and discount zones. They also prepare the price for the next big move. These 6 strategies are backtested a lot and the best working strategies with ranges to use. Of course, you can use any strategy that we have learned because you have a direction to trade now. Okay folks, we completed part 3 here, the internal trading strategies of range and deviation trading. The next video will be about real trading examples of these trading strategies. As always, all these trading methods are suitable for scalping, day trading, or even swing trading. I believe that it will be really helpful